and welcome back to channel. So this is Shruti and today we are going to deal with the body circulation, body fluids and circulation. So in this chapter we will be dealing about the blood, then we'll deal about the lymph, their properties, their composition, how the mechanism of circulation occurs in our body, and we'll also deal with the blood grouping system, and then after the blood grouping system we'll see with the another fluid called as the lymph. So first, when you talk about your body fluids, right? So the basic requirement of our body is O2, right? Your basic structure or the functional unit of your life is called as the cell. Now these cell, in order to perform its function efficiently, so this will require O2, right? Cells require O2 and other forms of various essential nutrients to perform their function efficiently. So you have to provide O2 and other essential nutrients in order to perform the function efficiently. At the same time, when you are providing these nutrients, there is waste or harmful excessive substance which are produced in our body has to be removed out, right? You have to provide the cells with the essential substances. Simultaneously, the other harmful substances or the waste products has to be eliminated or be removed from the body. Now, in order to do this, there is a certain type of transport mechanism, right? To enter the O2 in your body or to remove the carbon dioxide in your body or to remove certain other harmful substances, there is a transport mechanism. So, different animals have different mechanism. Now, if I talk about the sponges or the coelacanths, they are the lower vertebrae, right? So, now to sponges and coelacanths, what they do is, in order to transport the exchange of gases or the surrounding water, so what they do is, with the help of their body cavity or their body surface, they transport the surrounding water, okay? Hence, like this, with the help of the body surfaces, they transport the water or the exchange of nutrients occur in sponges and coelacanths. When come to a little complex organisms, what do they have is, they have a specialized fluid in their body. Then that specialized fluid helps them to transfer the material or the transfer of gases or the other fluid between the cells and the tissues. And when you talk about the human beings or the other higher complex organisms, most of the higher complex organisms, including human beings, they have a specialized fluid called as the blood. These blood will help to carry out the transportation process. So with the help of the blood, the exchange of O2 and CO2 occurs in our body, and also this is the efficient process. Because of these, the entire circulatory system works in an efficient manner. Now here in this chapter we are going to read about this specialized fluid called as the blood. There is also one more fluid called as the lymph. Okay, so this lymph is a colorless fluid. This will also help in the transport of certain materials or the certain kind of drugs. So we'll also deal with the properties of blood and composition of blood. Then we'll deal with the properties and composition of lymph. After this, we'll deal with the mechanism of circulation of blood. Okay, so this is the introduction. Now let us deal about the blood, its properties and its composition. So when I talk about the blood, it is a fluid. It is a special connective tissue and it is a fluid, red color fluid which flows in your body. Now these blood consist of plasma and the formed elements. Okay, blood is a red color fluid. It is made up of specialized connective tissue. It consists of a fluid matrix. It has a matrix. As it is a fluid, so it is a fluid matrix. It has a fluid matrix, it has a plasma, it has a formed element. So these are the components of the blood. Now when I talk about this plasma, it is 55% and formed elements are 45%. Okay, so these plasma, which is 55%, again is made up of water and certain proteins. So these plasma, which is consists of 55% of the blood, is again made up of water and protein. So water is about 92% and proteins are about 8%. Okay, So these water is 90 to 92% and proteins. When I talk about the protein, the major proteins which are present in the blood are, so here you have fibrinogen. This fibrinogen is a clotting factor. It is an inactive form. All the clotting factors, there are certain clotting factors which are present in the plasma, all are in inactive form. So fibrinogen is one of them. Then you have globulin. Then you have albumin. So these are the major proteins of the plasma. Okay. Apart from these plasma proteins or the major proteins which are there in the blood, you also have minerals such as sodium, then you have magnesium, then you have chlorine, then you have H2CO3, then you also have lipids, amino acids, glucose. So these are the various mineral composition of the plasma. So it has major proteins such as the fibrinogen, globulin, albumin, and apart from those proteins you have mineral content such as sodium, magnesium, chlorine, H2CO3, lipids and amino acid, glucose. So these are the various contents of the proteins which are present in the plasma. Now these factors, fibrinogen, globulin, albumin. Fibrinogen is a clotting factor that helps in coagulation of the blood. Globulin, it helps in the defense mechanism, whereas albumin maintains the osmotic pressure or the osmotic gradient. Okay, so these are the different functions of the proteins which are present in the plasma. Now the plasma without the serum is, what is serum is? Plasma without the proteins, these are proteins, whatever is there, so it is called as the serum. Okay, so this is about the plasma. Now next we'll be dealing with the formed elements. As I told you, blood consists of plasma and formed elements. So plasma, these are the contents. Plasma means you have certain mineral composition, then you have this clotting factors such as fibrinogen, and these are the various important proteins with their important function. Okay, so this is the thing. Now let's talk about the formed elements. Now formed elements are three. You have erythrocytes or called as the RBCs. You have leukocyte or the WBCs. Then you have platelets, also called as thrombocytes. So there are three formed elements, and these formed elements constitute 45% of the blood. So now let us talk about the RBCs first. Now RBCs, they are abundant in the circulatory system. Your body has more number of cells, means that more than the highest number of cells in your body are the RBCs that are abundant in nature. So these are about 5 to 5.5 million. Okay, there are 5 to 5.5 millions of RBCs in your body circulating, and they don't have nucleus. They are biconcave in shape. Okay, so now these RBCs, they have a red color iron containing pigment called as the hemoglobin, right? So this is the average value in an adult average healthy human being. You have 5 to 5.5 millions of RBCs. Then they don't have nucleus. They are biconcave in shape. They have a red color iron containing pigment which is called as hemoglobin. Now in 100 ml of blood, you will find about 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin. Okay, an adult average human being, if you take 100 ml of blood, he'll have average 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin. Now these lifespan of RBC is about 120 days. After the lifespan of 120 days, these RBCs get destroyed into the spleen. Spleen is called as the graveyard of the RBCs because there in the spleen all the RBCs get destroyed. Now these RBCs, as I have told you, blood. So this will help in the transportation of O2 and CO2 and other essential nutrients. Where these RBCs are formed is red bone marrow. You will find this formation of RBCs in the red bone marrow. Clear? So this is about the erythrocytes. Now when I talk about the leukocytes. Okay. So leukocytes or the WBC, white blood corpuscles. Now these are colorless, like red blood cells are the red in color because of the presence of hemoglobin. Whereas these leukocytes lack hemoglobin and they are the colorless. And they are short-lived when you compare to RBCs and lesser in number. So these are about 6,000 to 8,000 cubic mm. Now these leukocytes are divided into granulocytes, a granulocytes. When I talk about the granulocytes, again you have basophils, you have eosinophils, then you have neutrophils. Okay, so these are the types of granulocytes. And when you talk about the agranulocytes, you have lymphocytes, you have monocytes. Both of them perform the function of macrophage. That means they'll kill the various other kinds of microorganisms and destroy the foreign material if any. Okay, so coming to this composition, basophils are about 0.5 to 1%, eosinophils are 2 to 3%, neutrophils are 60 to 65%. If you talk about the whole leukocytes, neutrophils which are there, they are the highest number, 60 to 65, and they have multi-lobed nucleus, whereas these eosinophils are bilobed. Monocyte percentage is 6 to 8%. Okay. Now these basophils, what they do is they release histamine, they release heparin, they release serotonin. So these products, what they cause is they cause inflammatory reactions. Okay. So these basophils release histamine, heparin, and serotonin, helps in the inflammation reaction. Whereas if I talk about the eosinophils, they will resist the infections and assist the allergic reactions. Then as I have told you, these are the functions of basophils and eosinophils. Then when I talk about the lymphocytes, these lymphocytes will help in the immune response. Okay, and monocytes will perform the function of macrophage. Macrophages, they'll destroy foreign body particles in case certain bacteria or virus or pathogens increase. So they will destroy them. Clear? So this is about the leukocytes. Now let us discuss about the platelets, or what we call as the thrombocytes. Now these are produced by specialized cell-like structure called as the megakaryocytes. Okay, they are produced from megakaryocytes. They are also called as thrombocytes. So these thrombocytes will release a material called as the thromboplastin. Now when I talk about this value, so they are about 1,50,000 to 3,50,000 of platelets present in your body. Now these platelets release various kinds of clotting factors. Okay, so these clotting factors help in release of various substances. These various substances help in coagulation of blood. Okay, so when the platelet count decreases, what that does is it leads to decrease in the platelet, resulting in clotting disorders. When clotting disorders occurs, there is excessive loss of blood from your body, leading to anemic kind of conditions. Okay, so this is about the platelet. Now these are certain terms. When there is a decrease in the blood count or the RBC cells, it is called as erythrocytopenia. When there is a decrease in white blood corpuscles, it is called as leukocytopenia. When there is an increase in RBC, it is called as polycythemia. Increase in WBC cells is leukemia. Now abnormal increase, there is certain kind of abnormal increase like production of more antibodies or certain kind of thing in WBCs, that is called as leukocytosis. This is abnormal increase. Decreased in RBC is erythrocytopenia. Decrease in WBC is leukocytopenia. Increased in RBCs is polycythemia. Increased in WBC is leukemia. Abnormal increase in WBC, that is more of antibody productions or immunoglobulins, that is the leukocytosis. So this is about the RBC, WBC and platelets. Clear? Now next thing we'll talk about the lymph. Now lymph, as I have told you, it is a colorless tissue fluid. So what it happens is, now these the cells or when the passes, water along with water soluble substance, water plus water soluble substance move from cells to tissues into spaces. Okay, so they move into a spaces called these. When these water and water soluble substances move into spaces, the fluid is called as interstitial fluid or the tissue fluid. Okay, so this tissue fluid, water and water soluble substance move into the spaces called as the tissue fluid, leaving the larger proteins behind. Okay, so larger proteins are left behind and the water soluble substances are moved into the spaces called as the tissue fluid. Now these tissue fluid has the same composition as that of plasma. That means it will have same proteins, fibrinogen, globulin, and same mineral content such as sodium, potassium, chlorine, magnesium. It will have the same content. This fluid will also help you same in the exchange of gases like nutrient transportation, and then it will form a network of vessels, right? So these network of vessels is called as lymphatic system. Now these lymphatic system has a specialized cell called as a lymphocytes, and it has a special fluid flowing throughout the cells called as the lymphatic fluid. Then this lymphatic fluid will collect the blood or the extra fluid from all the collecting system and finally drain into veins. Once it drains into veins, and as I have told you, it consists the lymphocytes called as the cells. Now these fluid, it also helps in the maintenance of immune system, and it is an important carrier. As I have told you in the beginning, it is helping in passage of certain drugs, right? So it is an important carrier for hormones, it is an important carrier for nutrients, and also fats are absorbed here. Fats are absorbed in the lacteals. These lacteals are present in the intestinal villi, right? So this is about the lymph fluid, okay? Tissue fluid, then network of vessels will form the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system consists of specialized fluid called as a lymphatic fluid. Then it has a lymphocytes, which are the lymph cells. This is an important carrier of proteins and the nutrients and the hormones. Fats are released into this through lacteals. These lacteals are present in the intestinal villi, right? So here we have completed with the blood. Formed elements are RBC, WBC, platelets. Then we have discussed with the lymph, that is the tissue fluid. Now let us deal with the blood grouping system. Okay. So what is a blood group? Now all the bloods what we see have certain different properties, right? But they look similar. They have certain properties which are different, but though they look similar. Now the RBC surface, if I talk about the individual, RBC surface have two types of antigens, that is A and B. Similarly, the plasma of different individuals have different kinds of proteins which are called as antibody A and antibody B. So, based on the presence of these antigen and antibody, four types of blood groups are different. They are AB and O. Right? So, when I am talking about the blood group, on the surface of the RBC, okay, there are two antigens, A and B. Similarly, in the plasma also, there are different types of two antibodies, that is antibody A and antibody B. So, based on the presence of antigens plus antibodies, four types of blood groups are there, A, AB and O. Okay. So, A will have A antigen, antigen A. If there is an antigen A, you will have antibody B. Clear? Now, if there is a D blood group, so you will have antigen B, whereas antibody will be A. AB, same antigen, there will be no antibody. When I talk about this, here you will have no antigen, but here you will find antibody AB. Clear? That means if I talk about the blood group A, you will have antigen A. If I talk about the blood group B, antigen B. AB blood group, AB antigen. When I talk about the O blood group, you will have no antigen. So, when I talk about once completed with the antigens, you go to the antibodies. Opposite antibodies you will find. Antigen A will have antibody B. Antigen B will have antibody A. AB antigen, no antibody, no antigens. Here antibody AB. Now, these antigens are present on the surface of the RBCs, whereas antibodies are present in the plasma. So, after this, what the blood groups you will get? Here, you will get blood group A plus O. Here, you will get B plus O. Here, you will get A blood group, B blood group, O blood group and AB. Whereas here, you will get AB blood group and O. Clear? So, these are the different types of blood groups. This is how you deal it. Now, there is one more blood group system called as the RH blood grouping system. This is the ABO blood grouping system, right? So this is one system. There is another one more blood group system which is called as the RH blood grouping system, which is also followed. So now we'll deal with that. So coming to the RH factor is something which is present in the rhesus monkey. So from there you have got this factor, RH factor. Okay, this is a factor which you find in the monkeys. Now let us discuss about the RH factor. So RH factor, when you have the RH factor in your body, you are supposed to be RH positive. When the RH factor is absent, you are called as RH negative, right? So here RH positive and RH negative, and 80% of the humans have the RH factor in their body. Okay, so now there is a condition called as the RH incompatibility, that is mismatching of the RH factor. Okay, so if you are having the RH factor in your body, you are RH positive. If it is absent, you are RH negative. Now we'll deal with the RH incompatibility, that is RH mismatching. Now you have RH negative and RH positive. Now during the first time pregnancy, okay, first pregnancy, that is initial pregnancy, the mother is RH negative and the fetus is RH positive. Okay, RH negative is mother, RH positive is fetus, right? So these, when RH negative passes to the RH positive, the antibodies are developed, right? The RH negative will lead to go to positive. So that leads to production of certain antibodies for the defense purpose or the survival purpose. Now, during the first pregnancy, what happens is these RH negative and the RH positive blood, that is mother's blood and the fetal blood, are well separated by the placenta. Okay? Okay, first pregnancy, those are well separated. Now, once they are well separated, even after that, there are chances that the RH negative which is there of mother's blood might get transferred to positive. Okay, so chances are there. Now, once this is done, so antibodies are produced, right? So now antibodies are produced. Okay, now the second time pregnancy occurs. During the subsequent pregnancies, what happens is the RH positive which is there here and the RH negative. So RH negative mother's blood, what it will do is it will start producing the antibodies. Once it start producing the antibodies, during the subsequent pregnancies, these RH negative will go to the RH positive, that is it will reach the fetal blood. So once it reaches the fetal blood, what had to happen? It causes the defense mechanism and it will destroy the entire RBCs of the fetus, leading to jaundice and anemic condition of the baby. Okay, during the subsequent pregnancies, the antibodies are produced, so that RH negative which is there of mothers will go to the blood, that will get leaked, that will get mismatched, and that will destroy the RBCs of the fetus, leading to jaundice or the anemic condition of the baby. Now, to prevent this, it is occurring during the subsequent pregnancies, right? So to prevent this, what you can do is, right after the first pregnancy, RH antibody can be given, right? Anti-RH antibody, if you give it, so by giving this antibody, you can prevent this RH incompatibility or mismatching, and whatever this happening, the destruction of RBCs or the fetal RBCs, this condition is referred to as erythroblastosis fetalis. Clear? So what happens here is a quick revision. Fetus is RH positive, mother is RH negative. So first, when the first pregnancy occurs, RH negative mother is not mismatching with the fetal blood. So there is no mismatching after that once it is done, because both the bloods are well separated by the placenta. But during the subsequent pregnancies, once the antibodies are produced, after production of the antibodies, the mother's blood get mixed with the fetal blood, destroys the entire RBCs of the fetus, leading to jaundice or the anemic condition. So this condition is referred to as erythroblastosis fetalis. Okay, so this is about the RH factor. Now let's talk about the coagulation of the blood. So what is coagulation of the blood? So coagulation. Now you might have seen at certain traditions that when you cut your finger, you get a blood, and after a certain period of time, your blood gets stopped. Okay? So why does that blood get stopped? So what happens over there is your body have a protective mechanism to stop this. So by stopping the blood, what it will do is it will prevent the excessive loss of your blood from your body. So to prevent the excessive loss of your body has a clotting mechanism, which is called as the coagulation mechanism. Now what is this? After a certain period of time, your blood gets stopped, right? So at the site of injury, there is a network of thread-like structure formed. Network of thread-like structure formed. Right? At the tissue, like where you have cut at your finger, at the site of the injury, there is a network of thread-like structure formed. So that network of thread-like structure is made up of fibrin. Okay? So this is the network of thread-like structure which is formed of fibrin. How this fibrin is? This fibrin is produced by, this is the active form. Fibrin is the active form and it is produced by inactive fibrinogen. This is present in, these all the things occur in the plasma. As I have told you, clotting factors, most of the clotting factors are present in the plasma. So there is a network of thread-like structure formed at the site of the injury surrounding it, right? So that fibrin, those thread-like structure are made up of fibrin. So this fibrin is made up of, this is the active form fibrin, whereas this is made up of inactive form fibrinogen. So this inactive fibrinogen with the help of enzyme called as thrombin is getting converted to fibrin. So here you have fibrinogen which is inactive form with and getting converted to fibrin with the help of enzyme called as thrombin. And all this occurs in the plasma. Now these fibrin, okay, is once it is formed. Now how this fibrinogen is forming? So to form the fibrinogen is formed from prothrombin. Prothrombin will lead to formation of fibrinogen. Now here the enzyme will be thrombokinase. Prothrombin is again inactive, fibrinogen is also inactive. So prothrombin is getting converted to fibrinogen by thrombokinase enzyme. Again, this is also occurring in the plasma. So there is a series of enzymatic reactions which is occurring in the plasma with the different clotting factors. So once at the site of injury occurs, so that what it will cause is that will stimulate the platelets in the blood. Once the platelet gets stimulated, it will cause the stimulation to release certain clotting factors. Once the clotting factors are released, the process of coagulation occurs. Once the coagulation occurs, wherever you have an injury and excessive loss of blood, so during the coagulation, the blood gets stopped. And the structure, what I have told you here, the network of thread-like structure which is made up of fibrin is called as coagulum or the clot. Okay, so this is about the coagulation of blood. So with this we have completed about the blood, that is forming of formed elements and plasma. Then we have completed about the lymph. Then we have discussed about the blood grouping. Then we have discussed about the Rh factor. Then we have completed about the coagulation mechanism. In the next video, we'll discuss about the circulatory pathway and the mechanism of blood circulation.